He's fine-tuning his game in many different ways. He's able to get to his spots. Never seems too out of control, and I think that's one thing. He can only get better.
No matter what happens, whether he makes it look easy, which he does a lot of nights, or whether the defense is really tough on him, you look up and he's Shai.
Shai Gilgeous Alexander jumping over the seats to come say hi to you and your family.
Beautiful.
Man, Shai, he just a basketball head, right? You show me somebody love basketball and crazy about their family, then me and them gonna be tight.
The Rockets in Sacramento.
Yeah, I was gonna say, go ahead and promote it.
Oh, man! Gilgeous Alexander!
Shai Gilgeous Alexander, SGA, Shai Gorgeous, whatever you call him, he's unlike anything the NBA has ever seen before.
Oh my goodness!
He models his game after Kobe, but has his own set of skills that makes him a nightmare for other teams. What makes him unique? Why is he the centerpiece of an OKC title-contending team? And what are other NBA players saying about this once-in-a-generation talent? Join us here at Shooter's Touch and find out. Some NBA superstars aren't really a surprise. MJ, Magic, Larry Bird, Kobe, LeBron, every single one of those guys was drafted in the first round, if not somewhere in the top 5 for their respective draft classes. Each one of them was expected to be a franchise player in the near future or make a major impact right away. And every single one of them did. They all grew into the legendary players we know and love today. But SGA's story is different. He's been in the league since 2018, but he's only just started to make a thunderous impact. But if you've been following his career long before he got to OKC, this is nothing new. It took him time to come into his own. Even though he's now morphing into a superstar, SGA has had to be patient for his opportunity. While he was on Kentucky's basketball team in college, he didn't start right away. He spent the 2017 season sitting on the bench, backing up talented freshman guard Quade Green. But even though SGA was playing in a mostly reserve role, he still saw at least 30 minutes of action per game as a Wildcat, and he had several games where he flashed glimpses of the scoring threat he'd eventually become. He had several big games. He scored 24 points in the rivalry game against Louisville, 21 against Georgia, and 18 against LSU. SGA rode this momentum through the SEC tournament, NCAA tournament, and right into the 2018 NBA draft, where he was chosen 11th overall by the Charlotte Hornets.
Shai Gilgeous Alexander from Hamilton, Canada, and the University of Kentucky.
SGA never played for Charlotte, though, as he was immediately traded to the Clippers on draft night. He only spent his rookie season with the Clippers in 2018 before he was traded again. This time, he was one of the players included in the Clips' blockbuster trade for Paul George. LA traded SGA, Danilo Gallinari, 5 first-round picks, and 2 pick swaps to the Thunder for their all-star small forward. After just one season in the NBA, SGA was on the move again. Even though he averaged over 10 points per game during his rookie year, he was largely seen as a throwaway player when it came to trades. He was a second-year player with potential, but his greatest value was his trade bait. But becoming teammates with one of the greatest point guards to ever play the game, though, would kickstart SGA's meteoric rise to the top of the league. Up to this point in his career, SGA hadn't evolved into the superstar we know today, but that would all change once he landed in Oklahoma City. Chris Paul is in his 19th season in the league and currently plays for Coach Pop in the Spurs. But several years ago, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, he mentored SGA. This mentorship included more than just polishing and refining his game on the court. You don't often hear stories about young players being mentored about how to manage their diet, how often to work out and lift weights, or how to carry themselves as a professional. But that's exactly what CP3 did. He showed SGA that there was a lot more to being a pro baller than just learning how to play the game. Every single NBA player has potential if they make it to the league, but the greatest ones learn how to maximize that potential on and off the court. Chris Paul helped put those off-the-court tools into SGA's toolbox. And while they were only teammates in Oklahoma City for a season, SGA says he's grateful for CP3's wisdom and being a good influence on him.
Chris was the first player that I was around that was very particular about the things like outside of basketball. So like he was the first person that I was around that ate a certain way, that made sure they were lifting a certain amount of times during the week. He would watch basketball games differently, like dissecting the games, not watching as a fan. And I think that kind of edge outside of the court is what makes him who he is as a player. along with his work and his skill set. I think that if anything is what I've adopted from him the most, just to control the outside variables, so that when you get on the court, it's cut and dry. You know what you can do, you know what you will do. All those other things you don't necessarily get taught growing up playing basketball. You get taught just go to the gym, shoot, and when you get in the game, shoot. You know what I mean? But no one teaches you should eat a certain way, you should work out a certain amount of times, and he was great with that.
Chris Paul may have taught SGA how to carry himself off the court when he's not balling out. But just how great is SGA? What kind of skill sets does he have? And what makes him one of the best players in the game today? Let's take a look. Every NBA player is great to a certain degree, or they wouldn't be in the best basketball league on the planet. But each has at least one thing that they're great at. Nikola Jokic is fantastic at dishing the rock to teammates. Steph Curry can shoot the lights out from anywhere on the floor. Kyrie is a sick ball handler. And LeBron can obviously take over a game and become a pure scorer if the situation calls for it. But the greatest players in NBA history are often great in multiple areas of their game and style, and SGA is quickly becoming one of those. Saying SGA is unique would be an understatement, but his movement, patience, and defensive ability is what makes him great. Let's start with his movement. Basketball is a fast-paced game, but few players in the game today can move as fluidly as he can. As you can see in this clip here, SGA aggressively drives into the paint, but the man guarding him one-on-one doesn't get any help. This is likely from SGA's outstanding movement and footwork. SGA's footwork freezes the defenders and confuses them when they're trying to figure out which direction he's going to go next. After he's frozen the defenders in their tracks, SGA is free to do whatever he wants. He can choose to continue driving to the hole and score with either hand. He can try to back down his defender in the post for a high percentage look in the paint, or he can pull the ball back out and take a jump shot. SGA's footwork is fantastic, and his feel for the game almost seems like it's based on instinct, as if he's just flowing. He's just toying with the defenders in this clip. After he decides to back out rather than drive to the hole, he bounces back outside and launches an off-balance turnaround jumper. Too easy, like a shoot-around before the game. Like we said earlier in the video, SGA has had to be patient during his entire basketball career and work on developing his skill set. He wasn't a plug-and-play superstar right out of college at Kentucky. This patient attitude has not only helped him to grow into the baller he is today, but it's also had an enormous impact on his playing style. Some players want to be aggressive and in attack mode right away, but sometimes that aggressiveness can lead to turnovers and other mistakes. SGA's playing style is the exact opposite. He's patient, cool, calm, and cerebral. In this clip, Denver knows that SGA loves to drive to his left most of the time when he wants to score. They think they know his tendencies. So the Nuggets load up defensively on that side. What he does next is pure basketball magic. Not even Houdini himself could escape being trapped like this. But SGA not only escapes, he makes the Nuggets look dumb while doing it. SGA starts to go in the direction of the defenders, but then he bounces back just to create enough space, goes right, and nails a turnaround jumper. SGA is aggressive when the situation calls for it, but he mostly just takes what the defense gives him. He's patient enough to avoid traps, yet athletic enough to create space to shoot, even if there doesn't seem to be any. Okay, so now you've seen some of the skills that SGA has in his toolbox on the offensive side of the ball. But what about on the defensive side? Some players are pure scorers but horrible defenders. Not SGA, though. It turns out he's fantastic on that end of the floor, too. SGA is 6'6", 195 pounds. He's average weight and slightly above average height for an NBA player. But where his strength is on the defensive end of the floor is in his ability to steal the ball. SGA is so good at swiping the ball and setting himself up or setting teammates up to score on the other end of the floor. Sometimes he swipes the rock without anybody even noticing. Let's look at a few examples of his defensive skills in this next clip. In the first part of this clip, SGA sticks to the guy like glue, bodying him up and not allowing much extra room. Then when the time is right, he pokes the ball loose. In the next two examples against the Nuggets and one-on-one against Steph, SGA uses his long arms and 7-foot wingspan to poke the ball out of his guy's hands and disrupt Steph's shooting motion. But SGA isn't just a shot blocker or a master at creating turnovers. He can also use the turnovers he creates to instantly fuel OKC's offense at the other end. Check out this next example here. In this part of the clip, it looks like Oklahoma City is in trouble. The Hawks have numbers going the other way as they sprint up the floor. They're on a fast break. Suddenly, SGA literally punches the ball out of his guy's hands. A teammate then picks up the rock as SGA falls back, but the Thunder is ready for a fast break on their own. All thanks to SGA's aggressiveness, relentless motor on defense, and feeling the flow of the game to make sure he's in the right place at the right time. SGA's growth and playing style already make him a force to be reckoned with. But what's the goal for any baller on their team? Getting buckets. Having great footwork is important. Playing solid defense makes great two-way players, and being patient opens up options. But when it comes down to it, the best players in the league all get buckets when they need them the most. SGA might be unique everywhere else, but when it comes to scoring with the basketball, he can score points with the best of them. SGA currently has a career scoring average of 23 points per game. Keep in mind, this includes when he was still coming into his own and wasn't much of a scoring threat. But in his two most recent seasons, he averaged over 30 points per game. For this year, he's currently averaging 31 and shooting an eye-popping 52% from the floor. SGA has yet to win an MVP award, but between his all-around skill set, ability as a scorer, and the fact he's a two-time All-Star, he might be the face of the league sooner rather than later. But what do current players and NBA legends think of SGA and what he brings to the game? Rookies often get their welcome to the NBA moment, but for the ones who make it and carve out their own path in the association, they earn the respect of their peers, and legends may chime in too. SGA has been in the league since the summer of 2018, but his back-to-back All-Star nods have really opened some eyes around the league. One of the legends weighing in on him, none other than Chris Paul, his mentor and friend. SGA took CP3's advice to heart, and Chris couldn't be prouder of him.
Talk about connection. The other day you guys played versus OKC and you see Shai, Gilgeous, Alexander jumping over the seats to come say hi to you and your family.
Beautiful.
Talk about that connection, that relationship, and what it's like from when you first seen him to now being he's one of Dre's favorite players.
I mean this when I say it, and I try not to get emotional when I talk about Shai, man, because that was my first year living without my family, right? Without my wife and my kids in LA. And man, Shai, he just a basketball head, right? You show me somebody love basketball and crazy about their family, then me and them gonna be tight, right? And so Shai would come over to my house before practice just to eat, because I had a chef. You know what I'm saying? Night after games, Shai at my house, him and Darius Baisley, Lou Dort or whatnot. So he's so good when it come to hooping, and he's just an even better person, and I mean that.
SGA's OKC teammate Chet Holmgren also spoke up for him, reminding people to focus on his overall game rather than when he misses shots or when the Thunder have a cold streak.
I said it last year watching all these games, no matter what happens, you might only remember him, maybe missing 4 shots in a row or something, and then at the end of the game you look up and he has 30. So it's like, no matter what happens, whether, he makes it look easy, which he does a lot of nights, or whether the defense is really tough on him, you look up and, he's Shai. So it's easy to take for granted, but we don't do that. We know the type of player he is and the type of guy he is, and we're happy to have him.
Cleveland's Donovan Mitchell spoke up as well. He's an admirer of how SGA continues to refine his game.
Yeah, he's tough. He's tough. Shouldn't say that because he went to UK, but he's tough. He's a good player. His court vision, his poise, his teammates respect him, and at a young age, that's something that's really, really impressive. That teammates respect and his work ethic and the way he plays. He's fine-tuning his game in many different ways. He's able to get to his spots. Never seems too out of control, and I think that's one thing. He can only get better, and he's tall too. So as a point guard, it definitely helps.
OKC lost to Cleveland in primetime, but that might not be the last time we see SGA and Spida face off in a huge game, especially if the Thunder and Cavs play up to their full potential. But it's clear these two superstars respect each other. The greatest shooter of all time even spoke up when asked how SGA affects today's game. Steph's normally quiet and laid back, but even he had something to say.
That's what he does, especially when they have floor space the way they do and some of the offense they run. Like, everybody's kind of a threat out there, and he takes advantage of the driving angles, and when he's making tough contested twos. Part of it is kind of shots you live with, but not that many. So that's what the league is about, scorers of his caliber, winning games for a team by hitting tough shots.
They lost to Cleveland in one of the best games of the season in a shootout, but they're still the best in the West. Swingman Jalen Williams is averaging 21 points per game and is shooting 48% from the floor. Almost as well as SGA, Williams is making a big case to be an all-star for the first time in his career. With two legit scorers and veteran players like Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein, SGA has plenty of support backing him up. Not only that, but SGA's friend and teammate Chet Holmgren is expected to recover from a hip injury. He's been out since he was hurt in a November game against the Warriors. But if he returns to full strength for the playoffs, that will give OKC and SGA even more help as they push for a championship. SGA has spent years growing and maturing, both on and off the court. He's got the skills to back it up as a scorer and defender, and feels the game in a way that many players don't. When you combine natural talent, a unique skill set, learning from Chris Paul, a playing style modeled after Kobe Bryant, and the patience to make things happen, SGA is exactly what you get. He's the best of all worlds. Not only that, but SGA is only 26 years old, which means he should either be coming into his prime or he's already in it. That's great news for his teammates and Thunder fans, and a nightmare for the rest of the NBA. He's a great player who's only going to get better as time goes on. There are only two things missing from his trophy case: an MVP and the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Until teams catch up and they learn to counter SGA's unique style of basketball, he'll continue to take the NBA by storm. Even though the Thunder's 15-game winning streak was snapped, if you're an OKC fan, you have to be excited for what's around the corner. SGA may be poised to lead the Thunder to their first title in OKC. The last time the franchise won an NBA championship was in 1979 when they were in Seattle as the Supersonics. SGA's story is one of patience, perseverance, and stubbornly refusing to quit. He was once a minor player, a small piece in a blockbuster trade for Paul George. But now SGA is pushing to become the face of the NBA as LeBron and other aging superstars decide to retire. Not bad for a guy who once backed up a freshman point guard at Kentucky. Every superstar player leaves their mark on the league. LeBron is still a physical, dominant player. Steph can still get buckets from anywhere on the floor. Joker is a big man with touch. And past legends like Kobe and MJ showed what it's like to be single-minded when it came to winning. They absolutely let nothing get in their way of winning rings. SGA might be lighting the league on fire right now, but his full story has yet to be written. One thing's for sure, he's been a blast to watch. What do you think happens next in SGA's career? Will he take OKC to the top and help them stay there? Or will he be just another flash in the pan? Sound off in the comments below and like and subscribe to see more great content like this. As always, from all of us here at Shooter's Touch, thanks for watching.